welcome to another episode of AgilityCast. Today we're going to dive into one of the greater minds in Agile and project management. Rick Morris from R-Square Consulting and I,
Hey everybody,
is going to talk more with John Stenbeck, Amazon #1 author and one of the bigger names on the circuit of speakers around understanding Agile. What does it mean to me? He's the president of Great PM, which is a coaching and professional services that you can enlist. And he is taking the time today to talk to us about what it takes to become a better Agile practitioner. Welcome to the show, John.
Thank you. It's nice to be here.
So you were originally a forensic accountant. Has that helped you in your area of expertise that you're bending about now? How does that make you a better Agile practitioner?
So great question, Alf, and thank you for that. Because it sounds counterintuitive, right? How could a forensic accountant who becomes an engineer, ends up as a project manager, right, be a good Agilist? And I think it was a real struggle for me early on when I was doing what I'll call the microdynamic, the small team-only kinds of Agile stuff, where my personality, which you can guess is very OCD given that history, right, where my personality had to change a little bit, and where it actually started to become more of an asset was when we got serious about scaling Agile. Right? The fact that I am by nature data-driven, research-oriented, I'm what I like to call an optimistic skeptic, right? I don't believe it till you prove it. And so those characteristics about my approach to everything meant that I took the time, really. I put the energy into wanting to understand Agile at what I'll call a serious level. I don't want to just recite platitudes. I want to actually understand the science behind planning poker. I want to understand the brain chemistry behind, affinity estimating and team cohesion and that kind of stuff. And what that did, I think, is it made me more credible in talking to senior management about exactly what it means to scale Agile. In fact, and at the risk of any of these folks that I'm about to name being insulted by being, grouped with me, but when I got to meet and got to know Scott Ambler, Dean Leffingwell, and his partner Drew Jamilo, and quite frankly, Rick Morris, who's on the show, R-Square Consulting, what we share in common is this seriousness about Agile is important. Agile can do great things for the organization, and Agile does better if it's founded on serious research, a true understanding of the lean principles, the business principles, and from my background, the accounting principles that are involved. Like, you can't extend Agile into big government agencies if you can't do the accounting. Right? And the nice thing is, if you have just a baseline understanding of earned value management, you find out earned value management and Agile go hand in hand. They have the same core principle. Work is done or not done. It has earned value or it has not earned value. And I think one of the reasons that Rick and I sort of came together, connected, and the reason that we are revved up about CA Agile and CA PPM is you put those two together, and all of a sudden you have infrastructure to support scaling Agile. That's really serious. And that is very convincing, almost convicting for senior management when you can demonstrate that. And so, the reason R-Squared has had such success, the reason, senior management of big billion-dollar publicly traded organizations take Scott Ambler and Dean Leffingwell and Drew Jamilo serious is because they are serious. And so, at some level, I think that maybe is where things came together for me, because I'm not your obvious, natural, assumed Agilist kind of candidate.
But I think that's the important part, John, right? In what we've discussed and what we look at is is when so many people are thinking of going agile, they're only thinking of the team specific. And I think what's so important is we forget that, agile is not just for development teams, and we've got to understand how to scale that into the enterprise. And that's what I've appreciated about your approach. Even the book that you just put out, the Agile Almanac Volume 2, in talking about scaling the big five into the enterprise. So, just for the next, half minute or minute, talk about that for a second.
Yeah. So, gosh, you just sprang forth all kinds of thoughts that I had, but it really is, doing Agile with teams is yesterday's news. Today, the frontier, the opportunity in Agile is how do we bring this to the enterprise? How do we transform the organization? I love the slogan, the understatement that came with Scrum of transforming the world of work, transforming the world of work. And we're really finally to the beginning of that frontier, but it will not happen if we cannot speak in the customer's language. And the customer for scaling Agile is senior management. So we have to speak in ways that they find credible. And that means that we have to be serious and stop treating them like we think they'll actually, hey, I'm a developer. I've never run $1 billion company, but you should believe me. We have to change the entire organizational culture, or we have to train everybody before we can take the first step. I mean, talk about not Agile. Agile says, no, do it iteratively, incrementally. So why is it that we cannot train and roll out and implement and demonstrate benefits by using its own core principle? That mystifies me. Again,
so they want to roll out Agile using waterfall methodology.
Yeah, exactly, Alf. How can that be right? I don't understand.
Interesting. Well, I really appreciate you taking the time swinging by AgilityCast. We could talk to you for hours, but I think people should come and read your book. What's it name?
Agile Almanac. Book 2 is for scaling Agile Almanac. Book 1 is for teams in the microdynamic area.
I might get myself a copy of that. That's great. Well, now it's time for Rick's Corner, where he talks about apps and books and other funny things.
Yeah, and so today I'm going to keep it really brief because we had such a great guest. And so what I wanted to talk about today is something that I do with schools, and it's teaching children how to start to think in a critical way. But it's something I did in the 6th grade that I still use with executives every day. And so the exercise is this. I take children through and I say, I want you to write down the instructions of how to teach a robot how to make a peanut butter and jelly sandwich. And then we actually do it. I bring in all the materials, the bread, peanut butter, jelly, and then we see where their code fails. And so it is how, coding has gotten to be almost happenstance. There's all these apps and everything that make you code faster. But at the end of the day, a computer is still a 1 or a 0. It's still a bit or a byte. It's still an on or off. And there are no 0.5s. And you have to work with organizations to make them think through their decisions to make sure that there's a yes or a no. And so as I'm designing processes with organizations, as I'm teaching people this, I still refer back to that core foundation of, look, it's a yes or a no. It's a 1 or a 0. Teach me how to make a peanut butter and jelly sandwich. So if you have some spare time, go to a school, do this exercise. It teaches the foundation of coding to children, but you're going to have a ball as well.
I think that is very interesting to see how coding has become a critical skill that kids should have. At least understanding the underlying ideas of coding. I don't even have to know Cobalt or BASIC today. They should understand what if this, then that happens, right? So I'm glad that you're spreading it to the world, but I myself, and this is all my final thoughts for today, is we should be very careful. Very much like I have warned you about artificial intelligence. Take a step back before you jump into these new no-code software platforms that are opening up. For example, Storyline is the latest non-code platform from Amazon. So millions of people are now going to be able to build their own apps. And this is the beginning of the end, maybe, of our society. In the 1400s, we invented the printing press. It led to war, to riot, prosecution. Very much like social media has led to war, riots, and prosecution. At least election meddling of the world's largest democracy. Imagine now that same venom and anger, hatred, and just slinky behavior in a small app that could be written with a couple of drag and drops and sent into the internet to destroy everything it comes across. So next time you talk to Alexa or send your kid to a tech camp, hoping that they will get a great job, also ask yourself, what will they do with these skills you prepare them with? And that's it for us today. It's great having you guys on the show.
You guys are probably the best and most entertaining while being serious voice about in Agile out there. So thank you guys. What a great show.